Okay, we're going to go check out the fields. And Dave has, oh, he's got so as the parade ground, has the field been redone or like taken apart and put back together since then?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I've ever been told.
So we're kind of looking at what it was, how it was prepared.
Back when my company, organic.
So it was a period where somebody did a lot of organic matter. So when did you guys take over? When?
I took over 10 years.
You've been here 10 years, and when was?
It was acquired.
Sorry, 1996. 25 years ago. So okay. Cool. That's cool. I'm trying to remember when we were playing soccer here. He just turned 30. Yeah, it was probably 15 years ago. Yeah, the field looks fabulous. So Dave was just describing the irrigation about 3 or 4 years ago. They were able to put in an irrigation system. Previously, the fields were sort of this field is.
Rutted out. Face-off circles will all get rutted out. So that means we now have to get in, try and create some type of quick germination. So I did invest in a 500-gallon hydro seeder that we'll put on the back of a trailer, and we'll come out here and we'll try and hydro seed it to try and get a quicker germination. But we won't do that unless we have a good 2 or 3 week window between games, or
You can rotate it.
was one game that was played in the rain, and we had some good spots.
What are the species you're using for your patch versus for seeds?
It's been a tri-blend of fescue, blue, and rye.
Yep.
I mean, obviously the rye comes up to us in the shelf.
Yeah.
So that's what we really try and work towards, to more of a rye. Get that quicker.
And it looks like it's really solid grass, very little in terms of broadleaf plants.
So over the years, we had a fair amount of clover, and that was basically due to the drought period and the lack of. We've been able to get a better grass growth.
Yeah.
And it's like, as we would treat the clover, the grass gets stronger, and it fills in those bare sections. So we don't do a full herbicide on the field now.
Yes.
There's no need for it.
Yeah.
So it's basically our guy is out mowing. He's trained to pick up on certain things. You get sections of chickweed and again some bare areas, and we'll just make note of it. And then when we get a moment, we'll fill up a tank and just go hit those actual spots. And then come 3 or 4 weeks later, we'll try and throw some seed on top of that and get that germination.
Cool.
Differences in the management of your active turf versus margins, areas outside?
Mower for one, irrigation another, and actually treating. So any open spaces like that, we don't do anything with it. We don't seed it, fertilize it, or anything. We don't water it. It's all Mother Nature, all that.
It'd be interesting to throw that from that soil and this soil.
Yeah. We've had to do some digging here in the past for some, you know, suspicious cave-ins and very sandy subbase.
Yeah.
So draining has been awesome. Awesome. After every rainstorm, we'll get deluges with a 2 or 3 inch storm. And if we have any surface puddling, it's about in half an hour. Wow. So, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Ideal for this.
Absolutely.
Do you have an original drainage like map or?
You know, parade grounds, nothing has been installed because really, as I said, it's all natural migration.
Yeah, it's sort of,
You know, so it's not like we're in any low area. Everything, as we said, pretty much drains off. It's broken down below. But,
and I presume one might presume that that when it was set up as a parade ground, there was probably some work done to make sure that it, you know, drained well, could handle it.
Correct.
You know, so
Yep.
whatever they did.
It's
Yep.
This is Neil. I was just wondering,
Yeah, we can hear you, Neil.
Dave, does the well-drained soils cause you problems in terms of irrigation, requiring you to water a lot more, or is that an issue?
not at all.
Great question, Neil.
Yeah, no, not at all. You know, I play with it based on the, you know, the conditions, the current conditions. So if we get it this year, primarily I played with being a little bit more stingy with the water, and it did have some effects because we had that drought going on, and with the PFAS situation, I was, you know, reducing the amount of watering until we got the new filtration system out. But for the most part, she holds very well. I could probably go every other day, you know, with a good 20-minute watering out here and still keep a healthy grass. But you know, it all depends on, you know, daytime heat measures, whatever. I mean, everything's fluid when it comes to this.
Well, there's probably something here about the depth of the root system.
Yeah.
That does a pretty good job of pulling and holding water.
Right.
I'm
Right,
just
right.
looking at it. I'm kinda, all right, we'll take a little more. Is that a good answer, Neil?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Dave.
We're going to take a little soil sample here. Ooh, nice. Okay. All right, Keith.
Right, so this is a Deerfield loam by the soil sample, and you've got like almost an 8-inch
Yeah.
A horizon. That's pretty great before you get into that sandy B horizon.
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit of a thatch. You know, but
Yeah, so maybe that's more like 5.5, 6 inches.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where we start probably getting into the sand base.
Yeah.
The thing still has a lot of carbon in it.
Yeah, and you can see like where some deeper roots or some aggregate got buried is also enriched. So
Jim, can you tip down a little bit?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to do too many things at once. There we go.
Awesome, thanks. That's perfect. That's perfect.
You look fabulous, Dave.
Do you want to taste it?
It looks like chocolate cake. That's what you want in a field.
Yeah, it looks pretty deep.
yeah, nice aggregation.
So that deep organic layer helps it hold moisture for longer periods, right?
Yeah, every 1% increase in organic matter roughly helps store 20,000 gallons per acre. Yeah.
Oh, great statistic. That's awesome.
Dave, I know you say the consultants you work with to manage the field typically do the soil testing. Do you know what the organic matter content is?
I
on
could
the
look it
field?
up. I don't know.
It'd be great to do this in another spot, and it'd be great to try it over outside of this.
Yeah. Might be a little tough.
Oh, there's a road to what used to be a church. It's like, and how would I know that it used to be a church?
I know,
You know?
Well, it's like the way we always give directions.
Yeah.
That's where the stop, make a left, and then make a right where the gas station used to be.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, you remember, the old Frederick place.
Yeah, and the enrichment seems less, but less intense based on color, but the depth is greater. So
Right.
that's because we're also in a low spot.
I know we put the for the compost right out here on this.
Mhm.
So some of the stuff may blow out.
Say hi to Chris.
And you mentioned
Hey,
that
Chris.
you stopped doing the compost at some point. Was that only for establishment, or was it?
Can we take a look at that?
Sure.
Great.
So I sort of stopped the process only because
terrible.
it sort of had a impact to the community because it was raw.
Yeah.
So rather than chasing unknown organics that would be putting down because you're not really sure what's being put in that compost pile, I just figured we'd skip that. And you can see I really don't need any more organics in the soil, just more managing what I have.
Right. And we had I had a slide with details on the amount of herbicides and
This is just we turned as an open parade field. We can get away with once a week, but trying to maintain a 2.5 inch, playable surface requires 2, if not sometimes 3 mowings because the mows I have, they're not mulching mowers, so it's going to disperse. Getting into playing conditions. So we have sweepers and vacuum.
I just wanted to follow up on this here with the compost. So with the compost, before you started applying the compost, you're having, the fields were not as nice, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And then, so, you staff them well.
But they were
Made a
still
difference.
a burn, vulnerable to burn. So even the soils are there, it didn't have the water that it needed.
And then, but now it seems like now that you have a healthy soil to start with, maybe it's not needed as much an organic material.
Correct.
That's the theory.
Correct. That's the theory that I'm working on. I mean, if you go back to, I'm not sure if it's Google Earth or the actual Google Maps, but sometimes you can go back and look at historic, satellite images. If you go back like 8 or 10 years ago, you'll see them totally burned out. You know what I mean? You'll see the lines of the soccer fields from the aerial, but it's night and day between what it was and what it is, because usually they're going over in July or August. So you'll see what we've been up against.
And it's interesting, through our work with the Healthy Soils Action Plan, UMass Turf was on our consulting team or our advisory team, and they suggested that compost application was most beneficial during establishment, and then after that it became potentially a problem with phosphorus, overburden.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems consistent with your experience.
Yeah.
And the soils do look good. It'd be really great to see at least a couple of points in time on the organic matter, and especially around like one side or the other of a big change. Like, okay, here's when you got your irrigation system installed. So like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and then more recent. That'd be great to see. And Peter, we'd love to see that data.
I'll send that to you guys.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Neil.
yeah, I was just going to say, Dave's been working, Dave and I have been working on getting, some additional tree plantings around the perimeter, along Buena Vista. He's been replacing some trees along Antietam or Sherman, sorry. But Dave, is there other opportunities, along the parade march or the road there to do any plantings that?
We've lost probably 3 trees along here. Not anything of significance, but we just lost the huge red pine in the microburst we had a few months ago.
Yeah.
So Neil, we're talking about those elms. Where to put it might be a good spot to throw a couple elms over here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As you know, we have.
He's being very careful.
But I thought there was something around this area where we're at right now, Neil, on the east side of the Route of March.
Yeah, this is a development lot that may spill over this way a little bit, and there may be an associated recreational area with it. But for the time being, it's up in the air. But certainly putting trees along the Route of March, which is what this pavement is called here, would be certainly welcome. The state is noting the recreational users who could appreciate a little bit of shade on a sunny day in August.
Yeah. So. And it was torn down and filled in, and we used it for
Solve the problem of which denomination
They're wicked now that it's open.
Expect we threw it yet.
Yeah.
plowing or whatever.
Yeah, that's associated with what used to be the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. From the research and experience, trees are supposed to help accelerate the rate of carbon sequestration and the depth of carbon sequestration, but that often is contraindicated by the fact that areas around trees are often getting a lot less fertilizer or water and other things, and you kind of see that as a lighter patina.
We actually we use it for like official.
Yeah.
Dave, I know you have a lot of kind of verge areas in this community, and you were saying that you're mowing those sometimes. How frequently did you say you're?
So roadside mowing will average between once to every other week. So this is the mowing. I have tried to seed some roadsides where you have the grass strips between the sidewalks and the road.
Photosensitive seed for germination, as are a lot of the other annuals. So to get the perennial tall grasses, native grasses, some things like the small blue stems, where you've got something that's low enough you can control litter, road waste, but can also accept some of the salt. The switch is to try and get something that stays in thatch several inches deep to get shade on the soil to prevent some of those annuals and some of the weeds. More out competing by being bigger and being there all winter long. So if you move things close like this for the winter, you lose the opportunity to get ahead of annuals. It sort of perpetuates having to do it. So the only other alternative is to change people's idea about the aesthetic, that the edge should be a grass and short, to say it should be an edge, a grass and tall. Either going to the tall fescues, the ovinas, the fine and hard fescues, if you've got enough shade for that. If you haven't got enough shade, that doesn't tend to work out. But switching over to the truly tall grasses that are under the node grasses. The very tall grasses will start to die off if we cut the node. It sort of builds up sugar and then shoots again. But things like descampsia and tufted hair grasses, some of the sedges, depending on site and water. So that's the alternative. But you have to have buy-in from the people who are going to drive by and go, hey.
And it seems to me if there's a future plan for a playground here, that still leaves a lot of mowed lawn areas that probably wouldn't be turned into a playing field. So that represents potential for more naturalization and getting away from the turf. You could, depending on what you wanted to do, you could plant shrubs, trees, more trees, put in educational signage so that would help change the cultural perception that, oh, that's an overgrown area. But if you put in cement, maybe you put a path in there so it's a little walking area, and with the trees and the shrubs, maybe it's a more shaded environment so spectators could get a break from the sun. They could walk through a nice little area over here.
So what type of maintenance is required for something like that?
Consistently, the hardest part is convincing the maintenance staff not to maintain it.
Oh, that's not hard at all.
Because there is this huge, I find like guys are like, oh, that hasn't been cut.
Yeah.
I need to go out and cut that shrub.
Right.
Like, no, the point is to let it go to its full natural shape and height, come by instead of with a hedge pruner and take it down so that it has to keep fighting itself. You come in with just a set of snippers and some herbicide and hunt for your vines and your autumn olive. The bittersweet. But that is surprisingly a much harder thing for maintenance crews to do, even if it's
Well, it's all about the
management.
education process.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we will do some planting, some raised bed plantings, and being able to have them differentiate between what's really a wild, you know, invasive weed that has a flower on it versus what is an actual perennial. It's difficult sometimes. I lose a lot of.
We have trouble with that in our yard. Yeah.
Another
So
one
I will
relative-
lose some perennials. That way.
relative to things that maybe we can do for you through the MVP process is also making sure you've got access to the right type of equipment. It's one of those, what you've got is hammers, everything starts to look like nails. When what you've got is low deck mowers, that's a big thing too. If you've got the other equipment and we can fund getting that to you, it can change how things get managed. And the other thing that's starting to be available that might be an option under grant funding is there are starting to be mowers that are effective in an electric. It's still newish, but relative to emission standards, the guy on the back of the mower is being exposed to the equivalent of 11 cars all at the same time, point blank in open air. Whereas a car, you're driving away from your emissions and you're in a filtered box. If we can switch that over, we'll be doing a huge favor to the people who have to do the work, as well as the carbon.
Okay, we have any other issues here before we wrap up and move on to Redtail? I want to thank Dave Blazon for our Public Works Department for coming out and assisting with this conversation today. Thank you, Dave.
Great day.
Yeah, thanks a ton.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for bringing your core there. That
Yeah, ours got
super.